He says, because I grew up in multiculturalist Europe, I'm expected from people to be equally as liberal. A lot of Russian friends that I met, or people from Eastern Europe, I should say, aren't liberal at all. They're very conservative. Hell, a lot of Europeans I met are not liberal at all, and they experience communism at firsthand, and there's no way in hell that they're going to want to go back to that system of what they came from. They're enjoying the freedoms here, and they wouldn't have it any other way. And I feel bad because the people living here in California are surrounded by the left, and they want socialism, they want Bernie Sanders, and they want to give up our freedoms. And that's just asinine.
Yeah, you got the sheeps, you got the wolves. You are a wolf. The sheep just go with the herd and live out their life with only 3 goals: sleep, eat, and screw. That's it. The wolves wake up and they say things could be better for me and for other people. And you want that change. You want to be the person who's in charge. You want to make up your own mind and not just follow with the rest of the sheep. So that's a good quality. Even if you had said you grew up in like South Texas covered in conservatives and you decided to be a liberal, I would be fine with that because you made your own decision. You made your own path. So, and I applaud you for that. It's a hard thing to do, especially when your family's a bunch of liberals. I'm not directly Russian, but my parents are immigrants. When I tell people that I'm from an immigrant family, they expect me to despise Trump because he's anti-immigrant.
Yeah, but you're illegal,
though. Yeah, exactly. He's really not anti-immigrant. It's been a pretty biased reporting on that, but he doesn't want dangerous people sneaking their way into the country.
Yeah.
And he wants to make sure people who come in legally are checked to make sure they're not dangerous. Especially when you have a group like ISIS openly come out and say, we're going to sneak people into the refugees. And they have. They successfully have. And they've come to the US, they've come to UK, they've gone to Britain, Germany, Russia, France. And they have blown up entire buildings. They've killed hundreds of people. Look in the last 6 months. I bet you the death toll is over 1,000. That's more troops than we've lost in Afghanistan in the last year.
Yeah. And we have to remember there was no Muslim ban that the left keeps saying. There's a few countries that have a lot of bad people in there. And then they said, no more.
Yep.
This wasn't a complete Muslim ban. And also, think about this. Here's some food for thought. The military does not allow visitors from a lot of countries, almost the same as the Muslim ban. And there's some more. And they can't come on the base. Why? Security reasons. If we wouldn't let them to come on our military bases abroad, why would we allow them to come in droves in this country? We need to protect our country and our values. And there's nothing wrong with Trump's immigration plan. He's been great on it, actually. And I hope that this DACA thing can finally end and they're going to pass it next week. But it doesn't look like the Dems are actually going to be supporting this bill.
Yeah, they just realized they don't have a leg to stand on with this. So the way he's getting it passed is you have to show that your bill will not affect the spending budget in a negative way. Or if you do, you have to take that money from something else. So by getting rid of this, it saves the country a lot of money, partially because expediting and sending out illegal immigrants is very expensive, and importing them here is also very expensive. Giving them free education, Social Security, all that other stuff, also very expensive. So when you get rid of programs like DACA, it saves money. So even if they try to vote against it, filibuster the very next day, it can't be stopped at that point. So I mean, hopefully they push for it. I really do. It would be a positive thing, especially for people like you, Michael, who do come here legally, who have family that is here legally, because you're not going to be affected in a negative way. As a matter of fact, you're going to start receiving a lot of the benefits of DACA being revoked. So
yeah, I think we should fix this problem that Obama started. Let's give them amnesty, maybe a path to citizenship, and then build a wall, and then that's it. If you come here legally, you're going to be deported. It's disrespectful for all the immigrants that waited years to come here, doing the paperwork, paying all the fees, being away from their families. Don't they care about them? Don't liberals care? Michael says, I don't know what to think of immigration policy in America. I don't want to deport families, perhaps amnesty for those here, but a wall to prevent more. That's reasonable.
Yep. And while I agree with that in theory, because I definitely don't want to see families broken up. I came from a broken home. It's not a fun time. But when you start talking about giving amnesty and path to citizenships, Barack Obama tried that. He said that any illegal immigrant that goes in and registers will become a United States citizen. An estimated less than 15% of the illegal immigrants in the United States actually showed up at all to a DMV or IRS office. And all the rest of them just stayed here. They had a chance to go, I'm going to become a citizen, and they chose not to. Because if you become a citizen, you have to pay taxes. If you become a citizen, you have to work for the same wages as legal citizens. And contrary to popular belief, illegal immigrants tend to get paid a whole lot more because a company does not have to put you on their payroll, so they don't have to pay taxes on having you as an employee. They don't have to pay taxes on your wages, and they don't have to offer you benefits. So they tend to pay you all of that extra in cash. This is a video I saw the other day, and I've actually done this myself. If you go out to a street corner and you offer to help people move, as a legal citizen, you might get $10 to $20 an hour. The immigrants that are legal immigrants that are doing the exact same thing, $40, $50 an hour.
Crowder had a great video on this, actually. Him and I think Not Gay Jared, if you're new to Crowder's universe, it's not a derogatory term, Not Gay Jared. It's fine. That's his name. Go with it.
Yeah.
So him and Not Gay Jared go to Home Depot or some store like that, and they start competing with the other illegal immigrants trying to work and build whatever. And he had an interesting point. They could make an estimated $40,000 a year, and it's all tax-free because, like Cody said, they're not paying income tax. And that's very disrespectful to the American worker that's in the same line of work.
Russian immigrants to the U.S. are extremely conservative, especially Jews. Speaking as a Jew, the Jewish community has a serious problem in being notoriously liberal. I think that stems from a cultural ideology, because the Jewish communities actually do everything in the Jewish community. Matter of fact, they have their own police in some areas. And their own firefighters. They do their own tax services and that kind of thing. So they're very isolating when they're in groups like that. My roommate is Jewish, as I've mentioned before, and yes, he is a liberal. The one thing I do like about the Jewish people that are liberal that I've encountered is they're very reasonable people. You can talk with them, you can have a debate with them, and it's fine to be liberal. We need the conflict of having liberals and conservatives to keep this country progressing forward. If it was just one or the other, it would go to complete hell in a handbasket. So I don't see that so much as a negative thing, especially, like I said, when you consider that a lot of their communities fold in on themselves and they're very privatized.
The problem nowadays is that they can't come together. The left went so far left, and the Republicans pretty much stayed the same. They didn't move, and nothing's getting done. And we're not going to see any progress in this country.
Yeah, extremism on either side of the aisle does no one any good. You look at not what has been coined as the alt-right, but the actual alt-right, and they're not helping the Republican way of life. Then you look at the extremists on the left side, like, perfect example, Antifa has been in the public eye for a while now. They're not helping the liberal side of living with the way they live life. So moderateness on both sides is what's going to make our community and our country as a whole continue to progress and continue to prosper and continue to fold out the ends of time. So we're at a tipping point right now. Within the next 30 years or so, there's a large community that believes this. Within the next 30 years, we're going to find out whether or not our country is going to last forever or if it's going to completely go down in flames. So, and right now we're balancing on that knife's edge.
If we say Antifa is far left, then whatever is right next to that is what is being accepted and taken over a culture. You see it with social justice warriors. You see it with the LGBT whatever agenda. You see it in Hollywood, and it's made its way all the way up into the Democratic senators. And they're winning. That almost far Antifa left is winning. And it's up to you in November to vote Republican or just not whatever Democrats in your state and actually push change. We can't have these far left senators creating policies that are going to set this country back.
And it's funny because we talked earlier about the Constitution and making certain things in legislature and law unconstitutional and therefore illegal to implement as law. A lot of the things that you start seeing come out on the state level would be illegal on the national level, on the level of implementing as a country. So when you start seeing states do things like that, like California and their extremely stringent gun laws, when you start seeing California and their extremely high taxes and all of those other things that they're doing, you would not be able to see that on a national level thanks to the Constitution. So, and we're already seeing the outbreak from that. Californians rushing to very red states like Texas, yes, because it doesn't work. Those extreme views on either side, they do not work.
Yeah, but it's the liberals that are leaving California too, and they're going to push their leftist ideology into the red states.